Greetings, family. It's Miss Sophia again with Purpose Driven Television. And as promised, we are here today with Mr. John Green, historian, author, just an amazing, amazing, amazing man. And so I want you to meet him up close and personal today. He and his wife, Mrs. Green, have welcomed us into his home. And so, Mr. Green, say hello to our audience for Purpose Driven Television.
Hello there. How are you?
And Mr. Green, can you tell our audience just a little bit about yourself as we start?
Well, first of all, I am from Oklahoma. And you need to know that Oklahoma did not become a state until 1907. Before that, we were known as Indian Territory.
Wow.
I come from an Army family, Fort Sill. Fort Sill was part of Indian Territory, and I am very proud to talk about it because Fort Sill was Henry O. Flipper, the first black to graduate from West Point's first duty station. And I've done a 10 that commemorates that. My father and my grandfather were Army people, the colored detachment there at Fort Sill. But my grandfather was a part of the 9th Cavalry that built Fort Sill.
Wow.
And, being an Army brat, we lived on the post there for a while, and we had the horse-drawn artillery. And during the Second World War, I saw the horse-drawn artillery move into the mechanized. It was just amazing to see how they would take a mare and they'd have a remuda of maybe about 25 or 30 mules following behind her with the bell. And I saw all of this come, and you see the guys sitting there, and then it moved into a situation where they had trucks pulling it. So I have a very interesting history, in terms of what the Army did and this, that, and the other. But the other thing that you need to know about me is that I went to what was known as an all-segregated school. I had black teachers, and they taught me my history. I have always known my history. From grade 1 until I graduated from high school, we had black history. When we think about Dr. Woodson, Carter G. Woodson, who was the first to come up with a Black History Week and then finally a month, we knew all about it, and I am so thankful that I got that education. And when I came to Detroit, I used to be in the ice cream business. And then I ran into a book called The Michigan Manual of Freedmen's Progress, which was authorized by Act 47, Public Acts of 1915. The book was printed in 1950, which is now 102 years old. And I was able to reprint that book at my own expense. The state made me sign all kinds of papers indicating that I would not engage any kind of indebtedness to the state, but then, it was okay. I didn't understand then that it would be such a task, but I got it done, and I'm very thankful for that.
Well, thank you so much for just sharing a little bit about yourself. And you're definitely a living hero, living among us, literally living across the street from me. So I'm just honored that I moved in the right neighborhood.
Well, the pleasure's all mine.
And Mr. Green, with all that you shared with us even so far, with information about your research and your history, rich family history, can you share with me, we were discussing previously prior to the interview, one of your personal heroes, and that's Dr. Charles Drew. So can you share with the audience some of the things that you shared with me regarding his life, his legacy, and why he is one of your heroes today?
Well, first of all, I would appreciate it if you would just call me John.
Okay, let's do that.
Thank you very much. The thing that I would like to share with the audience is the fact that I, in 1985, served as the historian for the Museum of African American History, which was located at 1553 West Grand Boulevard at West Warren. The original Museum of African American History, founded by Dr. Charles H. Wright. I did a exhibit on Charles Richard Drew. And the name of that exhibit was I Am a Sprinter. Dr. Drew was quite an athletic person. and he was born in Washington, D.C. And one of the things that I found is that Dr. Drew was born in June of 1904. Dr. Bunch was born in August of 1904. And the thing that is so amazing and so coincidental is that when Dr. Bunch was receiving the Nobel Prize in 1950, Dr. Drew made an exit from this life in 1950 in North Carolina in an automobile accident.
Wow.
And there are so many tales that people have told about how that they did not treat him at the hospitals and this, that, and the other. And that is a lie. When they found out who he was, they did everything that they could to save him. Mm-hmm. But he could not be saved because at that time he had a Buick he was driving, and the Buick ran over him 3 or 4 times and crushed him, you know. But the thing that I want the public to know is that every time you see a catastrophic accident, you see somebody holding up the little plastic bag, which is contained the bank blood, the plasma, the theory behind the bank blood theory. The thing that everybody needs to know is that Dr. Drew had studied the banked blood, and that was his thesis that he wrote. He was at Columbia University studying and this, that, and the other, and he was having problems because people who went into the hospital for minor operations like an appendectomy or whatever they call that, just for appendix, minor operations were dying. He couldn't understand that. And he tried to solve it. The reason that people were dying when they got a blood transfusion is that they were given the wrong kinds of blood. The thing that you also need to understand is that during the Second World War, the American Red Cross had a policy of separating blood, white blood and black blood. There is no such thing as white blood and black blood. Blood is according to types, and it was Carl Lessender who came up with the types of blood, which gave Dr. Drew the information that he needed to complete his bank blood theory. Many people do not know that this is one of the reasons why Dr. Drew left the American Red Cross, because they did not want to give up the theory that white blood and black blood had to be separated. And because he knew that it was not true, blood is according to types and not color. He had to leave, and he did. And I appreciate him for standing up for what he knew. The thing that we understand, you know, is that it's amazing that Dr. Drew was not accepted at Howard University because he didn't have enough English credits. So he went to McGill University in Montreal. And he made good grades and all that kind of stuff, you know, and came out. And after that, Howard wanted him to come and teach. And he did after a time. But he was a coach at Morgan State. And he pulled that football team, basketball team up to a level where they could really compete. Wow. As he said, he was a sprinter. He played football, basketball, baseball, he lettered in everything that he did. The thing that is so amazing is that very few people know the man who is responsible for saving so many lives. In 1987, I wrote to the Nobel Foundation inquiring why they had not given him a Nobel Prize. And they wrote me back and said that they do not give the prize posthumously. And well, my thing is that if you can't give him the Nobel Prize, come up with something else. Because the world needs to know what he did. That bank blood and the plasma idea has saved countless number of lives. And the basic theory behind it is this. When you have blood with the red and white corpuscles, the red blood will spoil. And he took an old, and well, most young people don't know what this is, the cream separator, where you spin it centrifugal force, and you can spin the red, and where it will separate, the red will come on top, and the plasma will go to the bottom. Well, he saved the plasma, which is, you know, an off-colored whiteness, and and threw away the red corpuscles. And then you could preserve that, and they put it into sterilized water and bring back the life-giving blood.
Wow.
This is the thing that is so amazing, and I am interested in letting the world know that we need some help. As I said, that the Nobel Foundation does not make the award to people who are dead, we need to do something to get some kind of recognition for Dr. Charles Richard Drew, because it's just uncanny that this man's life-giving invention has been out here for so long and nobody recognizes it. And as long as I am on this earth, I am going to be pushing to try to get some recognition for Dr. Charles Richard Drew.
And Mr. Green, you and I are both in agreement with that. I have a personal testimony as well. My daughter Nyla, who you've met, 14 years old, she is actually a miracle child. She was a very high-risk pregnancy, so high risk that I was not even holding down water during my pregnancy with her. And one of the first things that would have to happen whenever I went to the hospital, which was consistently every month, for 7 months of our pregnancy, was that they would have to test my blood first. And then from that testing, they would know what I needed. And so it's because of people like Dr. Charles Drew, our people that have contributed to the medical field, that I was able to stay alive, and that my daughter is now 14 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I am in total agreement. Another thing that happened in our family, I had a cousin who at 11 years old was diagnosed with liver cancer. 90% of her liver was cancerous. And she had to have a very extensive operation, almost a 20-hour operation. But she made it through because of people like Dr. Charles Drew.
Okay.
And so I am in total agreement that even though he has passed, that his legacy still lives on, and that it's up to us as a people to make sure that our stories are told of those that maybe have passed along, but that they can still receive recognition and honor. We do it all the time for non-African Americans.
Yes, we do.
All the time. We still name buildings after them, schools after them, just to show honor. So again, his family is still living, so he still has a legacy as far as his family that's here on earth, walking and talking. And again, because every time, like you said, that we go into that hospital, every time that we need those blood transfusions in those terrible accidents, we are alive and we are able to make it through because of him. So I definitely agree with that.
Well, I'm 100% with you, because my thing is that of the Nobel Prizes, a black has never won in the field of medicine. And because we can't get him that Nobel Prize, we need to get him whatever recognition that the world can give him, because due to him, all races who are victims of a catastrophic accident benefit from what he did. Excuse me. Excuse me. And I don't know how we get started, but maybe we can let people who see this show write into us to let us know that they support us, and we will get something going on, because it must be recognized that a black man is the man who came up with the bank blood theory, and everybody in the world who is in a catastrophic accident benefits from what he did. And we need to know that. We need to appreciate it. And I am 100% for making sure that he gets that credit.
And Mr. John, as we come to an end to this segment, we're going to continue, but for this segment on Dr. Charles Drew, we do want to encourage you all to write in to us to join this campaign of celebrating him. And so you can write in to us at smxdetroit@gmail.com. Thank you. We'll be right back to you.